So if you want a leader who's knowledgeable enough to know that they don't know everything, if you want a leader who's willing to serve and is willing to make the sacrifice of public service, if you want a leader who has a track record of job creation, of unifying various communities, of fighting the good fight for youth jobs and infrastructure and renewal and revitalization of communities, please give me your time, please give me your service, and I will make sure that I don't disappoint you. I promise to make you proud of your contribution. I promise to, when you look back at that legacy that we'll create together in York Southwest, and you'll say, wow, I was a volunteer for a campaign for real change.
How am I supposed to be Aryan? And how come my dad was denied a job at Apple? Is it because he can't speak English like Steve, or is it because his skin is considered poisonous because it's not Snow White? I have all these questions and none end happily. If only my mother wouldn't dress me up in Tinkelbar shirts, then maybe I'll be able to pan out on every joke made to mock families like mine. Peter, I wish you would think more before you would speak. Why boys like you wish to fly, and I just wish for a fair chance at the airplane kind. But I could be Jasmine, right? Darker skin, more culture. It sounds like me, a confused culture. An Arabian princess mistaken for Indian. And I could never be an Arabian princess and tied to the Arab Muslim voice pretending the black one is oblivious. I would never tell myself to shut up. But what about Ariel? Could I live underwater like her? I wish, because then I'll be able to encounter all the lost souls thrown over. And if you believe in reincarnation, you could probably foreshadow the story of how Jamaica met a crab. And when Disney's first African princess is white, you realize you're not that little girl anymore. You don't want to be a Disney princess, because girls that look like you were born as kings. Thank you.
I really want to express my appreciation to so many of you coming out here today to support my long and dear friend AhmedHussen and his wonderful partner Eben. I'm also really thrilled to be joined by my caucus colleague, Dr. Kirsty Duncan, our candidate in Etobicoke North. And I do have to correct the record. We actually can't call ourselves members of Parliament anymore. That ceased when Stephen Harper decided to call the election. And I also want to acknowledge the presence of someone who really needs no introduction, our former Chief of Police for the City of Toronto, Bill Blair, and our candidate in Scarborough Southwest. Well, you're probably wondering why I'm here, other than the fact that I happen to have the distinction of having served as briefly so far as a member of Parliament. But more importantly, I think of myself as someone who is a dear friend to our mutual friend, AhmedHussen, who of course is our candidate in York Southwest. I want to tell you the story of how I got to know Ahmed and why he's going to make a phenomenal representative joining Kirsty and I and Bill in the House of Commons. I first met Ahmed about 15 years ago. Yes, you probably can't even believe that I've actually been around for 15 years, because most people are convinced I just graduated high school. But Ahmed and I actually first started working many years ago at Queen's Park, for someone you may have heard of, one of our former premiers, Dalton McGuinty, back in around 2000, if I stand corrected, Ahmed. And Ahmed came as a young, initially volunteer, who had worked very hard for another well-known Torontonian, George Smitherman, in his campaign down in Toronto Centre, and had joined our office, first as a volunteer and then later in the office, doing whatever it took, while I was working along with Ahmed in Dalton McGuinty's office while we were still in opposition. And I got to know Ahmed very well at that time, and when Mr. McGuinty became our premier in 2003. Ahmed was one of those brave souls who joined me when Dalton continued on as Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, and we both continued to serve as his advisors in the Ministry of Intergovernmental Affairs. And I was very fortunate to have Ahmed's advice and wisdom and support while we continued to serve Mr. McGuinty. So, one of the things that I got to know while I was working for Dalton was the incredible work that Ahmed had done, not simply around Queen's Park, because he was an incredibly hardworking and diligent and an incredibly smart individual. But I began to actually find out quietly and very quietly, because Ahmed doesn't really brag about his accomplishments, about the tremendous work that he'd been doing more broadly in our community throughout the Toronto area. Now, you may not realize that when he first came here, he actually first lived in Regent Park. And Ahmed, now you may not, today when you go down to Regent Park, you can see the tremendous transformation that's taken place in an area of, at one point, what was really derelict social housing. The infrastructure in that particular part of town was not probably one of the most safe areas for people to go to. And Ahmed had been, like a recent immigrant, had moved into Regent Park, and had been growing up, had been living there. And there had been a plan. You're probably aware that there was a plan at one point to redevelop Regent Park, to bring, to revitalize that decaying urban infrastructure around Regent Park. But what you didn't realize is that, in fact, that change took place not because of the original plan really called for the removal of 55,000 residents that actually lived around that particular area. It would have seen literally scores of people, thousands of people displaced, while they would have torn down all of Regent Park. And instead, from the foresight of some of the key city planners, the late David Pico and Derek Valentine, who had been at that time the president and CEO of the Community Housing, the Toronto Community Housing Corporation, a young AhmedHussen came forward and said, "There's a better way to do things. There's a better way that's going to bring the entire community of Regent Park together, that will come up with a better plan that will be less disruptive than the plan that you're putting forth today." And through his leadership, he created a consultation plan in Regent Park that saw the ultimate buy-in from all of the residents in Regent Park, that led to, rather than an immediate overhaul of the place in one shot, it led to a staged development. I believe it went through 9 stages. And transformed Regent Park into that wonderful space that you see now today. But it was because of the leadership of someone from Regent Park, from Ahmed, who actually came up with the consultation plan, that in fact in 2005 the Toronto Star noted that he was one of the leading 20 individuals that you had to pay attention to as future leaders of our great city. Now, at that time, I remember as I was working with Ahmed, we were encouraging him to further his education. And shortly thereafter, I left Mr. McGinty's office, and Ahmed was accepted into law school. And like many who come from an immigrant experience, Ahmed got to law school through hard work, but more importantly, and I'll be frank, it wasn't a straight and narrow path. Ahmed, you will be the first to know that getting through law school was not an easy experience for you, because resources are tight. It's expensive to go to law school. It's expensive, particularly when you've got to move away. And he went away to the University of Ottawa. So it wasn't like the straight and narrow path that some of us get, where we can get through law school in a couple of years. Ahmed had to start, stop, work, raise some more money to get himself through law school. And yet through hard work and diligence, today he's a successful criminal lawyer. And he's done that because the same effort that he put in Dalton McGinty's office, the same effort that he put into his community, he also did it for himself and made sure that now he can continue to contribute in our society. So I'm really privileged to be part of an amazing team of candidates, and you just get a sense of the kind of, but most importantly about someone like Ahmed is that, and those of you who've gotten to know him know, that while yes, he's also become the national president of the Canadian Somali Congress, what I think really sets Ahmed apart and why he will make a phenomenal addition to the House of Commons is not his intellect, the fact the man speaks 8 languages, the fact the man has crawled up from very humble circumstances to his condition today, but because he is, as I just said that keyword, he is humble. He is a self-deprecating, hard-working individual. who will make a fundamental difference, not only to the Somali community, but to Canadians as a whole. And so I'm really privileged to call him a dear friend, even a dear friend whom I got to know, of course, over the years when you got together and got married. I now have 2 wonderful sons, and I know that you're going to make a tremendous contribution in the House of Commons. Now, I could carry on, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the mic to my colleague, Kirsty W., who's going to tell you why AhmedHussen is going to make a phenomenal representative of York Southwestern. The one thing I will say, though, is that in this particular election, now, we're in this really, really, really long election that was called by Stephen Harper, and I think we're about a third way through it so far, but it feels like we've already been through one entire writ period already, right, Bill? We don't control the length of time of this particular election. What really does matter, though, is that, and I'm really deeply appreciative of all of you coming here and showing your support of Ahmed, of Kirsty, of Bill, of myself, and the entire phenomenal team that Justin Trudeau has put together. What's really important, not only is your financial contribution here tonight, but we really need you to go out there. And the way that campaigns are ultimately won is by you, by Ahmed, by your entire team going out there and contacting the voters in York Southwestern. So we need your financial support. We need you to go out there with Ahmed with a poll kit. We need you to go in there and grab a lawn sign and pound that into people's lawns, because it is that one by one individual contact with voters that's going to convince people why Team Trudeau has the best team and why we deserve to form government after October 19th. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your support.
I kind of come at this from a different place. I'm not, quite frankly, the experienced politicians my friends are, but I am a former police chief, and I'm a neighborhood guy. And I have to tell you, every neighborhood in this city is my neighborhood, but my real neighborhood is Regent Park. I began my policing career in Regent Park. I walked in Regent Park. I got to know the quality of the people there, the extraordinary families, the remarkable potential of the young people that live there. People who come from all over the world, and they settled in this somewhat difficult place. It was a place of low income. It was a place of dilapidated and falling apart housing infrastructure. It was a place often forgotten, but it was also a place of families. It was a place of extraordinary young people. It was a place of a community where people cared about their children. And over the time, and I worked in that community for very many years. I was the unit commander in Regent Park at 51 Division for 5 years. And over all of my time in that community, quite frankly, I came to love the people of Regent Park, but it was always a source of enormous frustration. That this was a community with great people, but it required extraordinary community leadership. It required people of vision. It required people who were committed to their community, not just so that they could become successful, not just so that they could go off to school, not so that they could get a better job and move away, but somebody who cared so powerfully about their community that they were prepared to make a difference. And about 15 years ago, Regent Park was blessed with just such a leader. In 2002, he co-founded the Regent Park Community Council. And over the ensuing next 3 or 4 years, he worked tirelessly within that community to mobilize it, to bring new energy and new enthusiasm to a different way of serving that community and for those people to live. And the evidence of his hard work, the leadership that he showed, is on display for anyone who cares about that community today. You can go into that community and the quality of housing is extraordinary. You can go into that community and you can see a new vitality, a new confidence of all of the people that live there. You can see the opportunity that is now presented so that every young person from Regent Park can realize their extraordinary potential. And we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude in this city for the leadership that Ahmed brought to that initiative. And I have also told you, as a police chief, I have worked in every community. And there's another community very near and dear to me, a community that is also populated by extraordinary families and wonderful kids, but young people who need guidance and leadership. And then once again, Ahmed, completing law school, establishing his law practice in York Southwestern. But without into his career, not only is he a successful lawyer and entrepreneur in that community, but he remains an extraordinary community activist and community servant. I don't believe there is any higher calling for any individual, with service to his fellow man. And we have seen countless examples in Ahmed's life where he has dedicated himself to serve and to make a difference. And the work that he has done with the young people in York Southwestern and the leadership that he has brought to that community makes him, in my opinion, the ideal Liberal candidate to represent that community. I urge all of you from that community and all of you who are here tonight to dedicate yourself to support this man. The country needs such men in leadership positions. The Team Trudeau, the new Liberal government that we hope to form, is going to need this type of leadership. And I will tell you, when the time came for me to choose my next career path after I completed my term as Chief of Police, and when I was thinking about public service and service by joining a political party, I will tell you I'm not a terribly political man, but I'm a man of strong values. And those values are based in our inclusive and cohesive society and a diverse society, and it is based on the neighborhoods and the people of Toronto and the people of Canada that make up this great nation. And my values were most closely aligned to the Liberal values as so excellently represented by people like AhmedHussen. I want to encourage you, we've got work to do. Inshallah, he will be elected, but we must also work hard. You have to go and help him knock on doors, you have to talk to your friends, you have to convince everybody on the advanced poll days, on an election day, come out and to represent this man. And if you do this, you will do a great service, not just for this man, but for his community of York Southwestern and for Canada. And on that, I encourage you and thank you.
Everyone, it's humbling to follow my colleagues Arnold and Bill, and I mean it's humbling. And it's an honor to be here tonight at this wonderful dinner and fundraiser for my dear friend AhmedHussen, the next MP of York Southwestern. Everyone, I've had the privilege of working with Ahmed for the last 8 years. And I know the strong voice he is for the voiceless. He stands up, he always stands up for our human rights. And as you all know, there's no stronger voice for the Somali Canadian community. The first time I met him, Ahmed literally swept into my office. And he asked me question after question about what I had done for the Somali community and what more I was going to do. And most importantly, how we could best work together for a community he and I both love. I admired his passion and his demanding more, because better is always possible. And Ahmed, we've done good work together. And working closely with Ahmed, I came to know more of his story. He went to law school, as you've heard. He worked for the provincial government. He headed a national organization. And he fought for Regent Park. I am hoping, and in fact, in knowing this community, I know you will work as hard as Ahmed has worked for our community. I've seen firsthand how he fights for families, and it's late into the night. And I know because I email him, because I need an answer, because I need a review for Parliament, and he always answers, no matter what the time. In leading the fight at Regent Park, do you know the responsibility, the time, the effort, the management skills, the listening to the community, the being a voice, the advocacy skills that were required? The project required a champion, and they found it in Ahmed. I want you to know what I appreciate most about my friend. and it's that he empowers those around him. You can see it every day in the campaign office in York Southwestern. I love watching our incredible youth get excited about politics, and get excited about having their say about their community and about Canada. And most of all, being involved in a tremendously thrilling campaign. I want you to know what you're fighting for is tremendously important. Yes, you are fighting for AhmedHussen to serve you and to be the MP for York Southwestern, but you're also fighting for Justin Trudeau to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Justin loves all things Canada, all things Canadian. He spent the last 8 years crisscrossing this country, listening to Canadians, hearing their hopes and dreams and being there for the hard time. And that means, folks, we have to, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, we have to work hard in every riding across this country. It means all hands on deck, everyone pulling in the same direction. My friends, let me finish by saying we need AhmedHussen in Parliament. We need Ahmed to be the next Member of Parliament for York Southwestern. I want to finish by saying thank you to you all. AhmedHussen. AhmedHussen for your countless volunteer hours. AhmedHussen for coming tonight, for your kind donations. I am grateful for your helping my dear friend. And he's not just a friend. He and his wife, I consider you family. Thank you for helping them. The Liberal Party is grateful. I know Ahmed and his family are grateful. So everyone, Somalia Hanalato, Canada Hanalato. And everyone, let's hear it for the next MP of York Southwestern.
Ahmed, I really like to speak in Somali, and I will thank for everybody who came here. And I think I met some of the, the politicians here. They don't recognize me. I was just a simple man at that time, and I went back home by 2004, and I became a minister of a place called Puntland. And lately I became and finally I was the Minister of Transport of Somalia. But now I came back, and I'm simply always Somalia is on and off. And now we are not in retire, but still we are waiting to get another job. And really that's why I came here to support Ahmed. And really I know him. And the reason that we are supporting Ahmed is someone that really came from the community. He can represent the community. And really when I'm saying he can represent the community, when I was in Mogadishu and being a minister, sometimes we heard the problem going in Canada, especially what's going on the youth. And that's really everybody in Somalia is saying what's going on, especially like I came here for the last 6 months, 3 times. As far as I was the Minister of Transport, I have to come to Montreal, always talk to a colleague who have the problem of the aviation. And I came 3 times here, and every time the day I came here, the next day I want to go to the cemetery, and there is one of the Somali kids who was burying that and is being killed. And the reason I was saying that Ahmed is the right person to get the support is I used to call him from Mogadishu, from Somalia, and say, Ahmed, what is going on? And he used to say, I remember he was in Alberta and saying, I'm already just in a case that, one of the kids was being shot here and I'm after the case. And that shows, everywhere we are, Ahmed was our right person in Canada. And I think the Liberals have get one of our best Somali new politicians, and especially someone who can represent the community in general. And he get the support because he used to support those who wants to get the position before him. He never hesitate. I remember last time another running for the position, just he was helping because he's a Somali. And he doesn't look whether he came for, going for Liberal Party or other parties. So the reason I'm saying that, Ahmed, everybody Somali here is behind you. So I was just talking Somali. I just want to inform you that now I'm a Somali. I went back. I stayed there for the last 11 years, being a Somali politician. waxaan leeyahay marka hadda runtii aan isku soo harnay inagu Ahmed waxaan aad u jecel lahay Ahmed waynu wada garanaynaa sidii ahaan jirtay oo xaajada ay ahaan jirtay inay ka bedelaato inay noqoto inaynu si wada jira oo sida Ilaahay u yahay wasaan hadda sheegay waxaan lixda bilood dambeysay halkan 3 jeer baan imi marka namiba maalintan maanta ku xigta guud Soomaaliyeed dalaasi dhibaatadana waxay ku soo haraysaa runtii inagoo dhan waana haysataa inay kuwa hooyooyinka wax dhibaato haysta runtii barnaamijka hadda wadana waa ku mahadsantihiin waa in garab taaganahay Ahmedna waa ninkuu ku habboonaa runtii hawlahaas wax ka qaban lahaa magacana geyn lahaa Soomaalida dhibaatada ka jirta waayo waa lawyer waaba shaqadiisa waana nin runtii ku habboon marka waxaan ka wada waxayaan meesha inuu u socdaa waxa weeyaan waxayna xilka lahaayeen la soo bixin oo isla garanayna waynu naqaanaa tan xigtana waxa weeyaan waxaynu magac ku wada yeelan karnaa marka qofkaan meel geyno wixii aanu haynana markaan wax ku tarsano oo maxay ahayd ninkaynu xoogaaga yar oo jeebkeena aynu ku soo saarnay oo saacadaha maxay ahayd doorashada kala albaabka la garaacayo aan waa qabaa inaan maxay ahayd lagu kala harin Ahmed waxaan leeyahay waxba ha u joojin sida sheegaysa ay ku baacsanayay iyo ragga albaabka ka xiranayay inta inaga ku haysato darbiyada ka qaylinaysa ayaa badnaan doonta laakiin waxa soo dhan waxa ka noqonaya runta qofka guusha markuu damco inuu umadiisa ku qabto aan waxaan qabaa waxa weeyaan waa xubin inoo soo baxday ragga dhalinyarada yaryar oo hadda magaalada joogaan waa raggaan rabnay inuu ku daydo ugu noqdo role ugu noqdo qofka wanaagsan waa lagu daydaa waxaan qabaa marka waxayaan caawa halkan aynu joognaa Soomaali haddaynu nahay weli waa gaari laanahay Ingiriiska iyo Sweden iyo Mareykanka intuba intay isku tageen bay meel wax geeyeen عقلنا ما مسكتنا أنت هم صارين كنا هذيك البلد واحد قالوا لي قالوا بيجوا أنت مسكت من غير كنا دورنا إنك أحمد جيسون برلمانك وإلى بتلو أنت كل هذا من الله يرجعه وهم أبغى أقول لسني قريب من الحلال من غندم تا أحمد سومال وكسوريسا هذه خلاص غير كنا وحنا كبرين ما يوحنا أحسن ما كبرية وانا نقولنا إن شاء الله نقول وحنا إن شاء الله هاي إن كاغس يقولوا أمرتي ريتاير ما كجلس سومالي وين باهو بهنا سومالي وسي تلاميذ بنا إن شاء الله هذا الله يراه مركا وحنا أنا بسوق مجالين يا مركا ركومسو تلقين كمان يجرو أكتر تاجنا عروتي للجدا وضدك آخرنا سيد هذا واحد ليسي oo u gabiyay والعاون intii reerkiisa xataa ku dhashay ka badayso luqadii iyagu ay maaragtay ay sheeganayeen waxaan rabnaa kuwaasoo meeran inaynu soo dedejino oo soo hormarino oo dalka ay dadku wuxuu qabtaan inaanu aynu iska dayno nidhaahno gabadhan waa gabadh yar oo waxba maxay ahayd waqtigeedii lama gaarin waxa yar oo dibka inoo dhigana waa ka mid innagii odayaasha anigu waxba qarin maayo da'di waa laga warkushoonaya laakiin dadku isku daabaana lixdankan lugaha la wada gallay waxaynu ku wada jirnaa beshan baynu ku jirnaa aan dadka u ogolaano caruurteennu inay noqdaan mustaqbalka berri inay noqdaan axmedna kuwaasoo horkacaya gabadha magaceedi muxuu magacay maymuna magaca ugu yara adkaadee maymuna waxaa weya soo dhawo wallahi waa iga dhab isma lahayn qof soomaaliyeed gabadh yar oo sidaasoo kale ayaa laga heli karaya oo hadda siday u macnaynaysay u dhigaysay kollay odayaashaa maqnayn doona maxay ahayd gabadhii yarayd ay tusaalaha ka dhigaysay luqadii ku sheegtay aad bay dadka maskaxdeeda u gashay waxaan rabaa halkaa ha ka bilaabatay axmed gacanta ku qabo waa mustaqbalkii berri oo dhaba ha la ogaado hadda gacanta lagu hay iyaday mid lamida wixii lamida door hore ayna imanaa sidaas kaleeto gabadh badan baa u tartamayay tartanka war hala caawiye ahayd marka raay laga ahaada soomaalida haddana nahay badana meelaha markaan soo istaagno way silownaa hadalkan waa iska wadnaa waa isgartay inay casho ahayd in farraysin ahayd dhexda markaa maraya xusuusta marka waxaan leeyahay axmedna ha loogu duceeyo ha la garab galo jeebka ha la furo aan ku dadaalo kelmadaan ku dhalanayna in aynu hal mar qof aan geysano baarlamaanka qofkaasina ama ha noqdo wasalaamu calaykum waraxmatullahi wabarakaatu
dhammaantiin dadka maaragtay meeshaan isugu yimid oo inay geesinimo geliyaan sharaxa MB-ga Axmed Dirir aad iyo aad baan idinku mahadcelinaynaa uguna faraxsannahay maashadiina iyo muuqaalkiina intaba haddee war badani ma jiro war la qabaa xiise ma leh waan iska warqabnaa horeyna arrintan waan u galnay haddana gunaanadkii ayay maraysaa tabeelayaashiina waa la xirxiray meelihiina waa la geeyey sidii hore aan ugu ballannay arrintaas haddii alla yidhaahdo doqonnimada badan oo nala ku tabayo aan ku beenino oo inaan micno leenahay oo wax tari karno mar unaato kaliya aan soo saarno haddii alla yidhaahdo waa sidaas waxa weeye ama xoog ama xoolo ama xeelad ama tabar ninkaas Soomaaliga oo khiyaarka ah u jeedino raganimadiisa nimanka aan rabnay inaan u geyno si uu u egyahay aad u jeedeen halkaa siyaada soo waana mahadsantihiin xayoona
Ahmed ku dooranayna we are with you Ahmed
I must say it's almost an insurmountable challenge to follow speeches made by three amazing people that I've met through this campaign and earlier. Folks who believe in public service, folks who have become family, because that's what the Liberal Party is. It's another family away from family. And I think, Bill, you mentioned that at your nomination, that you belong to one family of thousands of people, the Toronto Police Service, and then after that you joined a new family called the Liberal Party of Canada. So, welcome, and thank you for being here, Bill. Thank you very, very much to my dear friend, who I consider almost a brother, Mr. Arnold Chan. Arnold has been with me through thick and thin. He's been a mentor, an advisor, a colleague, and even a boss. But the best boss I've ever had. And Christy, I don't know where to begin. Christy has been what I would aspire to if I were to be ever elected. She's completely immersed in what I consider to be public service. I don't view Christy as an MP, I view her as a public servant for the community in Etobicoke North. And that's true. And when I look at Christy and I see, for example, her social media presence and her activities just on a given 24 hours or on a weekend, for example, she'll crisscross the riding and beyond the riding and attend events that maybe Arnold and I and Bill couldn't do combined. And I don't know where you get the energy. I think maybe it's the marathoner in you, right? Yeah, that's a factoid right there. So I really want to emphasize a few things today, and I don't want to get in between people and food, but I want to begin by, first of all, thanking the two people who made this possible, and that is Feliz and Yusuf. Where is Yusuf? Yusuf, thank you very much. Yusuf and Feliz have kindly made this beautiful, beautiful space available to us and accommodated our schedule and our supporters here. And I really want to start by thanking you. And we love this place. Everyone here says the same thing. It's a beautiful place. Secondly, I want to thank all of you for coming, for making the trip to come here and to support what is not just my campaign, but our campaign for change in York Southwestern. The election campaigns are very difficult. It's a very humbling experience. You have doors shut in your face, you have dogs chasing after you, you have people accepting a sign and then saying, I don't remember accepting a sign, what are you doing putting up a sign in my lawn, right? So it's a tough slog, and it's really rejuvenating and empowering and encouraging to have all these people in the fight with you. It makes the journey less lonely, and it makes the fight that much more worth, even though the policies that are close and dear to my heart. I'm running today essentially for the same reasons that I was active in Regent Park and in York Southwestern and in Ottawa and in Edmonton and Calgary and Winnipeg and Montreal and all these places, which is that there has to be a difference. There has to be a group of people who must say repeatedly and through action that there's a difference between being in a position of influence and power and being in a position of public service. And that's what has animated my life. And it's no accident that the three people here who spoke before me embody that. They embody the best of what a public servant should be about. The same values that have propelled me to seek public office are the same values that I carried on in Regent Park and in York Southwestern, which is that at the end of the day, we are all privileged to live in this great country, but that Canada is a work in progress. Like Mr. Trudeau says, it's not a finished product, it's a work in progress. And it doesn't take much for that work in progress to kind of start to rest on our laurels. And it takes each one of us to not just take the appreciation of Canada, but turn that around and make it even better. And I've always taken that as a guiding principle. And I think there's something to be said about contributing back to your community, because when you find a country like Canada, and I came here as a young man, you realize the privilege that you have to join a society like Canada, a society that's diverse but also tolerant, a society that makes it part of its constitution to respect minorities, a society that doesn't have freedom of speech like the United States, but have freedom of expression, which is much broader than simply speech. A society that has settled the big debates roiling every other part of the world. A society that has done a really good job at integrating immigrants and newcomers. A society that, up to a certain point recently, didn't have two classes of citizenship. And that's why we have to protect what we have in Canada. And part of the problem that we've had over the last 9 years is we've had a government that has treated this project as a race to the bottom. They've introduced a law called C-24, which came into force in June. And that law essentially says that there'll be two classes of citizenship. And the moment you open that door, you lose what makes Canada special. A Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. And that is why I'm very proud to run for the Liberal Party of Canada, that says that if we form government, we will kill Bill C-24. And this is not just something written in a policy platform. Mr. Justin Trudeau, our leader, came to York Southwestern and stood next to me in front of most of you and said that a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian, and C-24 is offensive to Canadian values. So we will kill that. Secondly, on the issue of C-51, Mr. Trudeau has been very clear that if we form government, most of the offending, all the offending positions of C-24 that attack civil liberties, we will remove that. The final point I want to make about why I'm running for the Liberal Party of Canada is it's the only party in contention right now that is talking about helping the middle class and those that are struggling to join it. And if you look at this room, 9 out of 10 people here belong in that category. It's the only party that's speaking to that group of people by helping folks with their childcare costs, but also on the other end by lowering taxes for that group of people who are disproportionately taxed. And doing the brave thing and asking the top 1% to pay a little bit more tax so that they can share the tax burden with everyone else. I'm proud of that courage that our party is showing to help communities in York Southwestern, in Etobicoke North, Scarborough, Agincourt, and Scarborough South, because those are the people that need the help the most. And the plan that the Liberal Party is putting forward, 9 out of 10 families will benefit from it. Hundreds of thousands of children will be lifted out of poverty. I'm very proud of that kind of platform. But it's more than that. I think that if you look at the approach of the Liberal Party of Canada, it fits nicely to the approach that we all have of Canada, which is an open society, a transparent society, and a society that values science, a society that values openness, and welcomes debate and discussion, and has respect for the courts. We haven't had that for the last 9 years. I'm here mainly to emphasize that I'm here because of you. I'm standing on the shoulders of people who've been with me from way back and people who've joined me during this campaign. And that speaks to the importance of volunteers. The issue of volunteers is important because we are in this together. The campaign that we have in York Southwestern is a microcosm of the national campaign, in the sense that York Southwestern, first of all, is composed of different people from all corners of the world who have made York Southwestern home. Secondly, it's composed of people from different economic groupings, but who share a common purpose of having and hoping for a better life for their children and their children's children. What we've had for the last 9 years, and moving forward, the same vision that the other parties are offering, those 9 years have shrunk the opportunities that I and many of you have used to move ahead in Canada and work hard and contribute. Those opportunities are being lessened by the policies of the Conservative government, and will not be solved by the policies of the New Democratic Party. But it's only the Liberal Party that understands that for Canada to succeed, those opportunities must be preserved, but also they should be expanded. And that's why I'm running in York South-Weston, to make sure that the resources that I was able to use to get to a position of leadership have to be preserved for this generation and the next. We have to do whatever we can to expand it. On the issue of infrastructure, for example, if you travel in York South-Weston, you'll see the abandonment of the federal government in its historic role to make sure that cities like Toronto thrive. And York South-Weston being part of the City of Toronto, when you travel on Eglinton Avenue West, when you travel on Lawrence Avenue West, Western Road, Jane, Black Creek Drive, all these roads, you see not only the neglect, but the congestion. The state of these roads speaks to the abandonment of the federal government in Ottawa, the abandoning of cities like Toronto, the abandoning of communities like York South-Weston. And it's a very foolhardy move, because not only do you destroy the quality of life in these communities, you also lose economic productivity. You reduce that, because when businesses can't get goods and services to other places on time, there's a cost to that. It's not a free ride. And I'm very, very proud of the recent announcement by Justin Trudeau that he will invest in infrastructure, that he will make the largest investment in infrastructure in Canadian history. And that will do two things. It will improve the quality of life for our citizens in Toronto and in communities like York South-Weston, but in the process it will also create jobs, because large infrastructure projects stimulate the economy when we need it. The other two parties are talking about more cuts to already difficult for communities that are already in dire financial straits. We need a Liberal government that will once again invest in infrastructure so that we can have jobs and economic growth at the same time. We need a Liberal government back in Ottawa that will understand that the Conservative government has made a mess of immigration. We're a country of immigrants. Most of you in this room are have either immigrated to Canada yourselves, or you're the children of immigrants. For the last 9 years, Stephen Harper and his crew have made a mess of immigration. It will take people like John McCallum, people like Kirsty Duncan, Arnold Chan and Bill Blair to get in there, bring the Liberal vision of Canada back into immigration, have immigration that has a human face once and for all, and repair the damage of the last 9 years of the Conservative government. That's why I'm running for the Liberal Party. We need a Liberal Party in government, because unlike the Conservatives, they will not cut programs for youth jobs. They will not undermine infrastructure for cities. They will not undermine our immigration system that has led to our success as a country so far, that contributes to our economic growth and taps into the wealth and intellectual capacity of our diaspora. We will have a Liberal government that finally can bring Canada back into a position of respect internationally. There was a time during the last phase of the Liberal power that in Canada, internationally, when countries had problems, they would say, can someone get Canada? Because Canadians would come and they would be honest brokers, and they would work through difficult problems and try to arrive at a solution. And Canada had a lot of Canadians and Canada were respected internationally. Now, when countries meet and they're trying to reach a deal, and someone says Canada is coming, they say, no, let them not come, because they come and they ruin everything because of the Conservative government. We need a Liberal government back in Ottawa so that we can have a foreign policy that can ensure that Canada can hold its head high in the community of nations. We need a Canada back that can stand up for cities, that can stand up for communities. And finally, the last point I'm going to make is that we've had a government in Ottawa, instead of exercising leadership, bringing provinces together to talk about national issues, and working for all Canadians. Instead, we've had a government that doesn't have First Ministers' conferences. So the Prime Minister hasn't met with all the premiers collectively since 2009 to talk about national issues. The Prime Minister and his team are dividing communities. If you look at some of the bills that the Supreme Court rightly rejected, they violate our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. But they would rather go down that road and divide communities instead of bringing people together. The Liberal Party's platform and its vision and its modus operandi is to bring people together, not to divide communities. That's very important for us. Finally, my whole life in Canada has been marked by giving back. Because we're so privileged to live in this country, a country that respects human rights, a country that has all kinds of freedoms, a country that allows folks to come and be who they are, and self-actualization and improve their lot in life, work hard and hope for a better future, which is not possible in a lot of countries. Because of that opportunity, I have always tried to give back to the community, and many of you have done the same thing. And so today I'm asking you to give a little bit more back to me. Donate, knock on doors, put up that extra sign, knock on that extra door, come out for that extra hour, and together we can really bring change to York Southwestern. We can bring real change. We can help those folks in York Southwestern who need someone who understands the immigration system, who has been an immigration lawyer. We need someone in York Southwestern who can create jobs for young people the way I was able to do that in Regent Park. Good, well-paying jobs with benefits. We need someone in York Southwestern who can empower the community from the ground up. We need someone in York Southwestern who can speak to the realities of people in York Southwestern, the reality of growing up in social housing, the reality of trying to make ends meet with student loans, the reality of taking transit to university for an hour and a half each way. That's the kind of leader that York Southwestern needs. And I promise you that if you give me your time, I will dedicate my life to York Southwestern and serving the people there. And I tell people this, when I knock on doors, people say to me, well, you politicians are all the same. And I say to them, well, the best indication of future promises is past actions. Look at my track record. I'm an open book. Look and see what I was able to do. And when I look at communities like York Southwestern, I see a lot of potential. I see a lot of change that can be made to the lives of people in that community. Whether it's on immigration files, trying to reunify families that have been kept apart because of bureaucracy, whether it's young people trying to get jobs. The unemployment rate in York Southwestern is almost double the one in the country. We need real leadership at the federal level to bring infrastructure dollars to York Southwestern. We need real leadership in York Southwestern to bring youth jobs to York Southwestern. We need real leadership in York Southwestern at the federal level, someone who can work better with the provincial member who's endorsing me and the 2 city councillors. We don't need partisanship in York Southwestern. We need real leadership, someone who can operate in the halls of Parliament, but also someone who can go on the ground and empower from the communities from the ground up. And I promise you this, if you give me a few hours in the next few weeks, I will give you all my time in the next 5 years. And I will do it this way. I will do it this way. And I always tell this to voters at the doors. If you elect me and you give me the privilege of your vote, in fact, you don't give me your vote, you lend me your vote. When you lend me your vote, I have to earn the right to keep that vote for the next time. And the way to do that is, I'll knock on your door. I will knock on your door in between elections. And I promise to do that, because that's the only way you can hear from people. And Celia knows this story, right? Celia knows this story, and she's going to keep me on track on that. Because I promise that the best way to serve the people of York Southwestern is to listen to them. To listen more than you can talk. And how do you do that? By knocking on doors in between elections and trying to find out what the issues are. I know some issues, I don't know all of them, but at least I'm willing to hear, and I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to bring communities together rather than dividing them. So if you want a leader who's knowledgeable enough to know that they don't know everything, if you want a leader who's willing to serve and is willing to make the sacrifice of public service, if you want a leader who has a track record of job creation, of unifying various communities, of fighting the good fight for youth jobs and infrastructure and renewal and revitalization of communities, please give me your time, please give me your service, and I will make sure that I don't disappoint you. I will make sure, I promise to make you proud of your contribution. I promise to, when you look back at that legacy that we'll create together in York Southwest, and you'll say, wow, I was a volunteer for a campaign for real change in York Southwest. Thank you very much.
Soy